Hi everybody, welcome to this video blog, and today I want to talk a little bit about, I said I would do a little update about the Bempton Phenomenon. I know many of you have gone on to watch that on the Zohar Stargate channel on YouTube. We've had a lot of, it's pretty much 9 comments out of 10 are sort of positive in regards to what it is we're trying to do, and Paul's particularly is trying to do up there. I mean, I think, for the most part, many of you interested in the whole, I don't know what Steve Mearer has dubbed phenomenology, which is the whole spectrum of weird goings on, be it ghosts, ufology, demons, castle mutilations, UFOs, lights in the sky, everything that falls under that umbrella. To try and investigate any one of these phenomena is such a difficult task. It really is, and I think a lot of the people that are out there, sometimes we do tend to get caught up in listening to some of that negative feedback, and it can get disheartening. I'm reading a lot of stuff lately from other researchers that are not necessarily getting the support they want, whether that be just general support and financial support for what they're doing in the work, whether they're trying to sell a book, whether they're putting a talk on for somebody and not being paid, whether they're doing art for somebody. And yeah, I think the alternative media, a lot of the alternative media, we have kind of done it to ourselves because we functioned for a long time on next to no budgets. I mean, I'm still doing it now. There's no money. And it's such a shame because when you look into mainstream media, they're stealing all their ideas from the alternative media. Everything that is successful out there has been taken from either a researcher, an experiencer, a contactee, or someone's who's written a book, an author. It all comes from the alternative media. It just so happens that there's no money in alternative media, and so it gets semi-diluted and put into mainstream media, which is such a shame, really. So I think, again, and I've said this before, I think it's time, really, that we started supporting one another. I mean, it doesn't have to be financial support. It just needs to be sharing and liking. And I know that's a really sort of a plastic statement to make, isn't it? Because I'm not a big fan of any of that social media garbage. But I understand that it's not going away, and I understand that we are able to utilise it for what it is. And as long as you appreciate that you're being spied on and your data's being sold, and all that nonsense, which it is, then crack on and use it. You're always going to get trolls. It's the nature of the beast. So back to what I was saying. I think really I'm really impressed with the feedback that Paul and I have had from doing that short documentary that we did up there. Totally unplanned, unscripted, just off the cuff, and we just put it together relatively quickly. But what we want to do, and what people want to say, well, I know that people want us to follow that up with something feature-length. So that's something Paul and I are planning to do soon, before the weather completely changes. And it won't matter if the weather turns too much. I mean, we want to focus a lot on the more tangible evidence. I mean, chasing a cryptid around is very difficult, and although we all buy documentaries for, even I do it as a filmmaker myself, when I watch Hunt for Skinwalker, or I watch Todd Standing's Bigfoot documentary, or whoever it might be, whatever your thoughts about Todd Standing are, we're all hoping to see that proof, whether it be video or photo. And then when we do see that proof, we call Todd a liar. And it wouldn't matter. Don't be under the illusion that it's Todd Standing that you're calling a liar. It would be anyone. I have seen a number of documentary filmmakers and researchers putting evidence out there, albeit a bit ropey. And I guess you could say at some point they do deserve some of the critique for not, some tend to put it out as proof, others don't. Others put it forward as, something unusual. Guys, take a look at this. What are your thoughts? And still get trolled. I mean, that's, again, back to people's. There are some horrible people around. I think that's just the nature of the beast. But I think when you watch a film, you have to have realistic expectations about it. And what Paul and I are trying to do, even in our own endeavours, me with Elusive, Paul with Truth Proof, the books, you're trying to put in context that's not necessarily, that's been missed. You're trying to piece together things that, yes, do exist in separate areas, but they haven't yet been collated into one piece for people to then, take that and move on. That's the whole idea. The whole idea of this is to build something and to allow the research to. I mean, and that's another one, isn't it? Is it research, or are we researching now? What are we researching? A lot of, I find myself, it's more investigating, I think, is probably a better term to use for what I'm doing particularly. I think those guys that are looking into languages regarding the runes and the sticks and all that's more research, isn't it? You know. But for what I'm doing, well, currently, you are investigating. You're trying to find out what these people that won't talk know. And I know that they know something they're not telling us. And you might say, oh, Chris, that's just you and Paul dramatising. It really isn't. It really isn't. Then people know what is going on, not just in Bempton. This sort of phenomenon is world over. And there are obviously sources that know what's going on, but there are also people that you wouldn't expect to know things. There are townsfolk, old timers that know things that will not talk. And our job as investigators really is to try and not pressure them, but I guess you could say we are pressuring them because we know that they know and we want to know. Which is a difficult position to be in. And all the time you have to respect people's privacy and anonymity, which is what I've come across a lot in the last 2 years. I've found that people in ufology with some of their experiences are a little bit more willing, and I don't know why that is. Maybe because of pop culture and maybe because it's more readily accepted, I guess. And I guess if you look at the scientific proof for life beyond Earth, yeah, I mean, it's pretty obvious that it's there. So maybe that's what it is. But the minute you start talking about 7-foot bipedal werewolves, no one wants to go on camera about it. Understandably. It's a really difficult one, and I'm just going to keep pushing it. Paul and I are just going to keep pushing it. We're going to get back up. I'm going to get back up to Bridlington, see Paul. We're going to do a few nights investigation this time. We're going to try and plan it when the weather's a little bit better, hopefully, because we lost one evening there because the especially on the coast there, when the weather comes in, you're not really investigating anything really. You're just getting wet and cold. And the reality of being on the ground, as Paul will tell you, is that 99.99% of the time you're finding nothing. You're finding nothing. And then whenever you do find something, you're left with a question. I found the footprints last year. I don't know what they were. I have no proof that they're a cryptid. The likelihood is it's just a guy in barefoot who's decided to walk up a crag for some weird reason. That's the likelihood. But it leaves that question in your mind as to why someone would do that. But I'm no nearer. Paul's finding all these dead animals. Something is killing them. It's not a man. It isn't a man, in our opinion. Some of them, I guess, at a stretch, you could say is a man. But the fact that police have been up there, snipers have been up there with night vision, Paul's up there with night vision, the farmer's constantly, he's lost 50 sheep. Of course the guy's watching his land. No one, nothing has been seen, which adds to this mystery. And I guess, and then you've got the lights off the coast as well, which we're going to feature a little bit more. People have asked about that. So when I said tangible proof earlier, that's the sort of thing that I'm talking about. We can go on the coast and hope to film these lights. And with the right equipment, the right camera, we've got some better cameras now. We can potentially get some, good video footage, if nothing else, to prove that this is not a flare or it's not some sort of, light aircraft or a drone, for example. I'm familiar with drone flight times and the rest of it, so, don't but don't be throwing that nonsense at me. So we wanted to really get to the point where we could sort of communicate with that audience, and we've gone onto that channel and we've gone onto the Bempton Phenomenon and answered a few of the queries and the questions, particularly people asking about why we're not hunting this thing, why we're not using night vision. The answer to that is Paul is using night vision. And Paul's made a little video as well. He went out researching earlier this morning. And here's a few things that Paul wanted to get off his chest. And he wanted to just really answer a few questions and give people a general overview of what the area is like and what's going on. Something, again, that we will cover much more in the feature-length version that we film, hopefully, in the next month or so. Okay, guys, so sorry for waffling on again. But I just thought I would get a couple of things off my chest, answer a few queries, and I hope I've done that. And if you've got any more questions about what happened up at Bempton, you know, just message me, put a comment down below. And yeah, thank you very much. One more thing I wanted to put out. There's a gentleman who watches my videos called Keith, and for some reason, I've not been able to answer some of Keith's queries. It wouldn't let me comment on his comment for some weird reason. So Keith, if you're watching this and you've got the thermal camera and the drone and you're willing to come and help Paul and I one evening to do an investigation up there, we'd love you to come along. We'd really appreciate your help. And if Keith's not available, anyone else that's interested in helping us with that, that would be amazing, really. So thank you, and I'll speak to you soon, guys.
Just thought I'd give you an update on what's been happening around this location. Not a lot, if I'm being honest. I think the last animal incident was last week, a deer, which I've already spoken about. If anybody's already heard it, I do apologise, but it's early morning now. See, there's nobody about. You can see the kind of conditions that we're in, and just wanted to address, well, a few things. You know, I mean, the Bempton Phenomenon, it's a strange one, but I am not, and Chris Turner's not trying to say that this location is any different to other parts of the world or other places in the world that are such experiencing these strange events. But what we're highlighting is the fact, and it is a fact, that this area throws up all manner of unexplained phenomena. It can't be denied. You know, you can go back in archives in Scarborough and Bridlington and Beverley and just look through old newspapers and see the amount of strangeness that happens here, not around this area. So when we have a concentrated accounts of animals being mutilated, it's worth noting, because just out there, and I'll turn this camera around in a moment, is where aircraft have crashed in mysterious circumstances. It's where trawlermen head off 10 to 15 miles off Flamborough Head and report that their compasses go strange and they don't know where they are. Recently had a report where a trawler has arrived somewhere an hour early at a fishing ground and they don't know how. You know, I've got the boat, the name of the boat. I've probably put the name of the boat in. We'd been criticised for not putting images in when we did the Bempton Phenomenon, which simply we weren't allowed. They're too graphic. I dare say when Chris Turner decides that he's going to release Elusive, some of those images will be shown. I spoke at the old Outer Limits UFO conference and showed the images. So, you know, I mean, there were a room packed with people. It's not that we don't have the evidence. We've not got evidence of what's doing it. We sat in the field, we've done all-night vigils. We have got night vision cameras. We don't hunt these things. It's not hunting. This thing is just way ahead of us, whatever it is. And I do believe that whatever it is land-based, airborne, and marine capable, because of the harbour porpoises that we've found. Traumatic, huge holes under their jaws, all in close proximity to this land. So just a few updates really, and now I'll just sort of pan round the area so you just get an idea from. It's quite a high vantage point. I mean, it's pretty. As you can see, there's not really a great deal to look at apart from houses, and there's the North Sea. You know, so when we talk about the affected area, don't forget that this coastline sort of is continuous and uninhabited for miles and miles and miles. Huge sea caves, a network of sea caves that never get accessed because it's just inaccessible to get underneath these cliffs. Okay, I'll end it there. It's the 23rd of September 2018.